when you open Maya for the first time, this is what you see. Like I said, your first reaction might be to just shut down your laptop or your system and never open it again. But don't worry, I'm here for you. What I'll do is try to just simplify it for you. Once you get over that impulse to run away and take a look at your screen again, you might start to notice, especially if you've used something like Photoshop, let's even make it simpler, something like, a word processing system like Microsoft Word, you tend to start seeing some similarities. So let's go over that. You have your, menu, your menu tray at the top, you have your toolbar at the left, and you have your work area. Fine, this work area might seem a little different and the color might be gray and everything, but it's a bit familiar, that's what I'm trying to say. So let's just bear that in mind as we go through. Going through the top here, we can see menu bars. Some of them are familiar. I think every application has a file menu bar, which is, kind of almost the same thing across board. Yes, this is where you can save your scene, open your new scene. I mean, it's called scene in Maya here, but maybe Microsoft will call it maybe your file, right? But yeah, this is where you can open a new document, file, scene. This is where you can save it, can save scene as, and everything that has to do with, creating something from that application. That is what we have in the file. We have your edits, also similar. This is where you can copy and paste. Every application has a copy and paste. This is where you can maybe delete. This is where you can undo and redo. So familiar stuff, at least for the first two menus, and then the third, fourth, and fifth might also be a bit familiar. But then it starts getting complicated, right? We now start seeing a lot of stuff that we may not have seen in other softwares. So we have your windows, your mesh. I'm going to go through all these things, but I'm just giving an overview first. You have your mesh tools, your mesh display. You also have some more menus on the right. Have your, say here, we have our curves, our polymodeling. So this is a lot of stuff. And this is what gets people confused with, and that's because when they open Maya for the first time, when they open a 3D application for the first time, they feel like they need to understand every single thing. They need to know what every single thing does before they can consider themselves Maya users. But that is not the case. First thing I have to tell you is that you don't need to know everything, right? Maya is like a Swiss Army knife, right? The different people can use it for different things, right? So depending on what you're doing, whether you're an animator or a modeler or a visual, effects artist, the way you use Maya could be different for you. So that's one thing to know, right? You don't need to know what every single tool does, what every single menu does, right? You just need to know what you need to do, how to do it, you get in and do it, and you're fine. First thing I want us to look at is how to navigate, right? How do you move around in Maya? Obviously, this is a 3D application. If you've used something like Photoshop before, it's just a flat screen, right? So you just come in and you do your work. You can probably pan, but in Maya, you can do all that and more. So I am currently zooming in and out. I can also, track to the left and to the right. I can also rotate. So these are the first thing we'll be looking at. In Maya, your Alt key is very important. That's one very important thing to know. Your Alt key is important because everything that has to do with navigation has to do with the Alt key. To zoom in, let's start with zooming in. To zoom in, you hold your Alt key and your right middle mouse button, and you can zoom in, like I'm doing now, and you can zoom out. I'm zooming in and I'm zooming out. That's your right Alt and your right mouse button. Then if I want to rotate, let me quickly create an item here. This is just to help us visualize. If I want to rotate, this is what makes a 3D animation software special, the ability to actually turn it around 360. So if I want to do this in Maya, I'm holding the Alt key and my left mouse button. Alt key and my left mouse button, and I can rotate my camera. I can look at all the angles, right? And then the final one is if I want to track, right? If I want to pan rather, I hold my Alt key and my middle mouse, and you can see how I'm moving the camera. So this is basically manipulating the camera. So again, it's a 3D application, so you have that depth, so you can, view the camera from different angles, from different perspectives, right?
Hi guys, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more of this.
So the Alt key, middle mouse, I can go from side to side. The right Alt key, right mouse, I can zoom in, I can zoom out, and then the left mouse, Alt key and the left mouse, I can rotate, right? So that's that for the camera. Now quickly, if I want to frame, get an object into frame, I can quickly hit the F key and I can frame towards an object. Let me do that again. So let's say you're working, you have a lot of scenes and you just want to focus on a particular object. You can click on that object and you can focus on that object. So that's the F key. If I want to zoom out, or if I want to frame, let me create something else. I don't need to worry about what I'm creating. These are just for examples. Let me create another item, right? So let's say I'm working on a scene, and I want to have a closer view of the smaller cube there. I can click on it and I press F and it frames into that. Now what if I want to see my whole scene? I can press A and then it gives me an overview of the whole scene. So that's how to manipulate your camera. Now, like I said, what is special about a 3D application is the perspective that it gives you, right? So right now, this view is a perspective view, right? I can see everything from a perspective view. What if I want to have the more traditional orthographic view that we are used to? Now, I can hit my space bar. It splits my camera into 4. Right now, what you're seeing now is the same scene, but from different angles. So on my top right, I have my perspective view. This is the scene with the view we started with. Then the rest, the 3 of the other views are your orthographic views. So you have your front view, right? You have your front view. So this is this same box here, but from the front view. You have your side view as well, and you have your top view. So this is what it will look like from the top. So this way, in case you want to alter your scene or alter a particular aspect of an object in your scene from a particular view, you can do this as well. So you can go to the front view, and guess what? Once, let's say I'm in the front view, I hit spacebar, I am now in the front view. If I hit spacebar again, it splits my view into 4. If I go to the side view and I click, I'm in the side view. If I hit spacebar, you get the idea. So I'm back to this perspective view. So I can, decide to walk from my perspective view, and I can see what I'm doing, updates in the other views, right? Same for if I walk in the orthographic view, any of the orthographic views, I can see it update as well in the perspective view. So that's something that is very helpful when you're working in Maya. You can also, customize these views into what works for you. If I go to layout, you see that I can have a single pane. I can have 2 panes side by side. So this is just my perspective view and my top view. Then I can decide to, change this to a particular view that I like, whether it's my side view or my front view, right? So this is just another layout. Can have 3 pane, split bottom. I'm not going to go into all this, just to show you the options that you have, right? So this way I have my front orthographic view at the top, and then the split view of the side orthographic view and the perspective view. But yeah, this is the defaults, and most times that is all you need. So I'm going to reset that, go to layouts, leave it at 4 panes, and go back to my perspective view, right? So let's go explore the menu a bit more. I've talked about the file menu, I've talked about the edit menu. Now this is the create menu. You've seen me use this when I was creating this. So this is where you will explore this more when we're going into modeling. But this is where you create anything you want to create in Maya. If you want to introduce a new object into your scene, you do that from the create view. So you have your knobs primitives, you have your polygon primitive, you have your volumes, and a lot of other stuff. So here I could create this. I could create a sphere. This was a cube. Could click on a sphere, and once I click on that, whatever you created, it appears on your viewports at the center of your grid, right? So this is a sphere that I just created. If I go to create, say I want to create a light, for instance, I could click on create directional lights. Of course, you may not know what these are at this point, but just track with me. Basically, anything I want to create in Maya, I can access that through the create menu. So there are a lot of other stuffs here that you can create, but we'll not go into that at this point. So that's basically what the create menu is for. I'll delete that. I have select. Maybe I should just leave a cube so to help us with our demonstration. Have your select. So this basically has to do with your selection. Have select all. This selects everything in your scene. Select all by type. So when we get into the different types you have in Maya, you have your joints, your IK handles. You might want to use this. You can deselect, and yeah, basically everything here has to do with your selection in Maya. I don't have to go through all that now. Your modify has to do with modifying an object in your scene, maybe manipulating it a bit. Your display has to do with what is showing on your scene. So you might want to hide something. So if I select this item and then say display, I could hide it. I can hide selection, right? I could also show selection, right? So, okay, I need to have that selected. If I go to display, I can show selection, right? So display has to do with, showing the visibility of the items in your scene. Then we have windows. This is where you can, add, more windows to your screen. So basically Maya is very customizable. You can, as you get more experience with Maya, you can, tweak it or customize it to however you see fit. So Windows is what you have for that. So I can just start adding different editors to my screen. Whenever I click on it, it comes out, right? So this paint effects, I can add. So what the application does is that it has kind of stacked that and hidden some, menu items that you might not need at first. Then as you now start working, you can now start bringing those out. So I have my animation editors. We are going to be using the graph editor a lot, for instance. So if I come here and click on the graph editor, I see the graph editor. I can work with it. I can close it when I'm done. I can decide to, stack it. I can decide to stack it somewhere. It's on the side of my screen. I can decide to add these extra menus as part of my my layout panes. So if I come to panels, for instance, I can decide to make this a particular window. So I can decide to make this like let's say graph editor, which I just showed earlier. I can decide to show this, right? So that's for the window. Now that covers the general. Let me get back here. That covers the general menu. Now, after Windows, what you're currently seeing now is mesh. You see mesh, edit mesh, mesh tools, mesh display. Everything after Windows, right, from mesh downwards, is a dynamic. It's called a dynamic menu tray in Maya. It's called dynamic because it changes depending on what you're working on, right? Currently, I'm on the modeling tray, right? On the modeling menu set. If I click on that, you see you have different options. You have modeling, you have rigging, you have animation. Now watch closely. I'm going to click on rigging. Watch your mesh menu now. Once I click on rigging, you see, I can't find my mesh, related menus anymore. I'm seeing after Windows, what I'm seeing now is skeleton, skin, deform, constrain, control. Now I'm going to click on animation. Watch that again. Now, after Windows, you're seeing key, you're seeing playback, you're seeing audio, and that is the same for every other menu set that I click. So that goes back to what I said earlier. you don't need to know everything in Maya. Maya is used by a different set of professionals, basically. So I could be a technical artist and I come into Maya and I select my rigging, menu set, and that is what I'll work on. That is all I'll ever work on with Maya, as far as I'm concerned, right? Someone else can be an animator, come and select the animation, right? And that is all they will ever work on, right? So that is very important to note. So I'm going to go back to modeling. Once I'm on the modeling menu set, so everything I have here now has to do with modeling. This has to do with my mesh, how I'm manipulating my mesh, how I'm editing my mesh. This has to do with edit mesh, has to do with my mesh tools. These are tools. We'll go into all these things in our modeling classes. These are insert edge loop tool. This allows me to insert edge loops in my mesh, right? So basically these are tools that will help me as a modeler to be able to manipulate my objects to create the shape I want. Once I'm on the modeling tool set, everything after the windows, it's helping me to achieve my modeling aims, if you will. Now, if I go to the next one, rigging, everything you're seeing here has to do with rigging. So let's say if I click on skeleton and click on create joints, I can add joints, right? So I'm basically clicking and I'm adding joints. You can see my scene now. This probably might not make sense at this point, but yeah, this is just showing you what you have, in Maya. So I've just clicked on skeleton and I've created a joint. So a rigging artist will be much more familiar with this menu, right? If I click on animation, an animator will be much more familiar with this menu. So you might be a modeler and you may not know what this menu does. All you need to understand, right, using Maya for the first time, is where to find what you're looking for, right? So I know that, for example, I am a modeling artist, right? So when I open my Maya, what I'm looking for is, okay, where is the modeling menu set? I click on that. Then I familiarize myself with what this does and how to use them, right? So that's very important. This, it messed with me a lot, right? When I open Maya for the first time, maybe there's a tool that I've used before and I know how to use. Then I open my Maya, or I'm using another person's system and I can't find. I'm looking for, okay, where is the, insert edge loop tool? I can't find it. And I'm looking around like, but I saw it, I saw it yesterday. I've used it. I know it's here. I know it's somewhere here. It's probably because you're not in the modeling tool set. So you have to make sure that you're always in the right tool set. So make sure you're in modeling tool set and you can now find under your mesh tools, insert edge loop tool. So that's something to pay attention to. The menu, the top menu changes depending on the menu sets that you are on. So that is very important. All right, so that's that.
Hi guys, it's me again. If you're enjoying this and you love to learn more, make sure to visit our website to get more of this program tailored for you. And do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel.